Taffy's Texas Kitchen. Today I'm going to be making a pumpkin cobbler. So stick around with me and we'll get everything together and I'll be right back with you. Okay, to start off with, I'm going to stick 1 stick of butter, and I use salted butter. And this is about an 8 by 10 dish. It's a 6-quart casserole, but you can make this in a 9 by 9. You can even make it in a 9 by 13. The only difference is when you make in a different size of pan is the ingredients stay the same, but the thickness of the crust on top changes. So if you make it in a 8 by 8 or 9 by 9, your crust is going to be a little bit thicker. If you make it a 9 by 13, you'll have a thinner crust. So it's really up to you on how much of the crust you like, and everyone's different. Some people like a real thin crust on a cobbler, and I tend to like one that's a little bit thicker. So I usually make it in a 9 by 9, but this dish is a 8 by 10. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the got my oven set on 350. I'm going to put the dish in the oven and let my butter melt, and then we'll be back. While we're waiting on the butter to melt, I'm going to go ahead and do the make up the crust for the cobbler. And I'm going to use 1 cup of self-rising flour. And if you do not use self-rising flour, then you're going to need to add the baking powder and salt to the flour. That's the only difference between self-rising flour and all-purpose flour, is that self-rising flour has baking powder and salt already added to it. And then we need 1 cup of sugar. And again, this is just the same recipe I've used before for my cobbler. It's 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of flour, and 1 cup of milk. And then I've got my 1 cup of milk. And then I am going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm also going to add a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And that's all there is to the crust. And I'm just going to whisk that up. I thought today I'd make a fall recipe. I'm looking forward to cooler weather. In Texas, we really don't have seasons. We have hot and cooler, but I'm looking forward to the cooler. We don't have, like, at least where I live, we don't really have the changing of, you know, like the trees change, and we have all the pretty colors and things. And then next I'm using I believe it was a 30-ounce can of pumpkin pie filling. But here in the part of Texas I live in, we don't really have where the trees change, and you know, like today it's 107 outside, and you know, we're into the first week of September. But next week, we do have a promise of having a couple days in the 80s and some rain finally. Okay, to my pumpkin pie mix, they do add spices to the pumpkin pie mix, but for my taste, it never tastes like there's enough in there. So taste it and see to you if it has enough spice. You might, you know, everyone's taste is different, so you might feel like it's perfectly fine. So that's totally up to you. And I'm adding 2 teaspoons of pumpkin spice to mine. And then I'm also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm going to add, cut this off, half a cup of brown sugar. About a quarter. I'm going to add 2 of these. Get this all stirred up together. To the side, and we're going to get our melted butter. And then we're just going to pour our crust into the butter. And when you're stirring this together, I didn't mention that you don't need to stir it till it's like completely combined. It's okay if it just has a couple lumps in it, or kind of like when you're making waffles or pancakes. Now I'm not going to stir, but I am going to just lightly make sure that this is all the way to the edges. And then I'm going to take the pumpkin pie filling, pour that all in. Again, I'm not going to stir, but I am going to just gently pull it to the sides. And then on top of that, I'm going to put, I'm not exactly sure, I don't normally measure it, so just sprinkle probably about a half cup of brown sugar on the top. That, I'm going to sprinkle some pecans. And that's probably about a cup of pecans. And then I'm going to get this in the oven. It's at 350, and I'm going to let it cook for about 35 to 40 minutes until it looks set, and we'll be back. I just got it out of the oven, and I did let it cook for about almost 50 minutes. So I'll be back in just a little bit when it cools off. As you can see right now, it's just bubbling away. So we'll be back in just a little bit and do a taste test. I let it cool off, and I'm going to get me a little piece out. What it looks like. I'm going to take a quick taste. It's so good. You can taste all the fall spices in it. And so I really recommend this one. It's really good. Thank you for being with me today. Remember to show kindness to others, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Like and subscribe. Bye.